On this week's edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast, I go over new details concerning the Gears of War movie for Netflix, Toy Story dominating the box office while Disclosure Day struggles, DC Films seemingly having a secure future under Paramount's new leadership, and Elektra being confirmed for Daredevil Born Again Season 3. All this and much more on the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. Well, welcome back to another Friday News Roundup edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Zolnais. Thank you so much for listening, however you may be listening. As always, this podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Substack, of course, and YouTube. Now, I highly recommend that you subscribe to my YouTube channel because I am starting to put up at least 3 to 4 shorts a week, and I've been experimenting with that format a lot, and it's in its infancy in terms of what ideas I have for it, but I'm going to be putting out a lot more of those. And if you want to be able to see those when they come out, all you got to do is click that subscribe button. Plus, you also get to listen to the podcast that way if that's how you prefer to listen to it. But however you may be listening, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your support. And if you would like to get the full experience of, the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast and Substack and all of that, for only $6 a month or $50 a year, you get all the perks of being a paid subscriber, and that includes submitting questions that I will answer here on the podcast. I got a few today that are pretty good, and I'm excited to answer. You get access to spoiler articles like the one I have up for Disclosure Day right now, so you'd be able to hear all my spoilery thoughts on new blockbusters as they come out. Like, obviously, I will have one for Supergirl and one for Spider-Man up here in the next few weeks. So upgrade if you want to read those. And I also do monthly rewind reviews. I just did one for James Gunn's Superman. I'll have another one that was requested by somebody, one of my paid subscribers. Coming out in the next couple of weeks, I'll be reviewing the movie Mystery Men. That was requested by one of my paid subscribers, and I'll do that. And if you want to be able to request a movie for me to review, just upgrade your membership to the paid tier. You'd be supporting me and helping me be able to continue to do this, which I love doing it. Obviously, I hope that you guys love it as well. And any little support really, really, really helps. I appreciate it, but whether you're a free subscriber or paid subscriber, I thank you. I'm seriously, this is awesome that I get to do this, and I couldn't do it without your support. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the news. So first up, obviously Netflix has been working on a Gears of War movie. It's been in the works for a while now. A lot of people have been wondering if it's going to be adapting one of the new games or one of the games, not new. Or if it's going to be more an original story. It's being directed by David, I believe you say Leitch. He directed the John Wick movies, Fall Guy. He did Deadpool 2. He helped out with the action on that. So if you want good action, he's the guy to go to. But this week we got some info from Entertainment Weekly where they quoted saying, "The origin story of Delta Squad, a ragtag group of soldiers who wage a desperate war for survival against the Locusts, a race of subterranean creatures set on destroying humanity." So that's the description we got. So it sounds like it's going to be an origin movie, which we have the new game Gears of War E-Day, which is kind of going to be that. It's going to show when the Locusts first erupt out of the surface of the planet Sera, where this takes place. I'm excited to play that game. I can't wait. I upgraded my PC just so I'd be able to run it. I'm really excited for that. But Matt Booty, great name, who is the Xbox Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer, said, and I quote, "The game is really about the bonds between teams. It's about brotherhood at its core. When you go to visit the studio, their tagline is never fight alone. So when you think about that for a dramatic narrative, it's a pretty good starting point." I wonder how this will work, especially because the new game E-Day seems to kind of be the origin for Delta Squad already, and then you kind of have a second version of that in the very first Gears of War game. So I wonder if maybe they will do their own thing, or I wouldn't mind if they just kind of adapted the original game. I think that would work perfectly. It has the characters that everybody likes in it. It's an easy story to tell that could easily be done in a 2 hour movie. You can get a lot of action. It would kind of be fun because it would be more of like a sci-fi action horror movie. Because there is a little bit of those horror elements in the first game, especially. Uh, Almost giving off like an aliens vibes, where it's like you have these creatures that kind of come out of nowhere that are a threat and that can be scary at times, depending on how you portray it and shoot it and all that, obviously. And then you have these cool soldiers that can just wreck crap whenever they want. So I think that would be the best way to go. Plus, after the Halo show, I just do not trust anyone saying we're going to do our own version of things. I get very weary of that and do not like that. And I'm also just interested to see how they cast this because I know Dave Bautista has been wanting to play Marcus Phoenix. I personally think he's too old at this point, and I don't think I think you just need some younger guys, especially if you want this to be a franchise. You probably want to go with someone younger because I think he's in his 50s or 60s at this point, and it's just one, I don't know if he can handle the physique because these guys in the games are supposed to be pretty jacked. So imagine NFL linebackers and then add more muscle to them. That's how big these dudes are. So I just don't know if he'd be able to put on that physique. I don't know if you could do that physique in live action. So I almost wonder if they're just going to have to make a compromise there of like, hey, yeah, we'll get some guys that are big, but you're probably not going to get lore accurate Marcus Phoenix in terms of how muscle bound he is. So I'm interested to see how they approach it. I hope that they go the route of Gears 1 and just do that as opposed to an origin story. But overall, I'm interested. I wonder if this will get a theatrical release because obviously Netflix is seemingly kind of being choosy on when they do theatrical, like actual theatrical runs, like in the case of um, Chronicles of Narnia and Greta Gerwig next year. Um, what was it? There was another movie I thought they did. Obviously, they've done one night events for like Stranger Things, and some of Zack Snyder's movies got like a weekend release. So I wonder with this if they would do a weekend release or if they would go all out theatrical. And I wonder if Xbox would be kind of pushing them to do a theatrical run of like, hey, if you're gonna take our property, we want that 45-day theatrical window. We don't want you doing it for a weekend and then throwing it on Netflix there where it can get lost in the shuffle. Like if we're if you're going to use our property, we want it at the forefront. And I think that would be what Xbox would want because not to make this into a gaming podcast, but obviously they are struggling right now as a company and as a brand. So to have your one of your big brand games have a movie adaptation but only get like a weekend release before it gets just thrown on Netflix and lost in the shuffle in 2 weeks. I think they would want to push for that theatrical window, but we'll see. This is kind of one of those things. Just as more details come, I'll be covering it, and I'm hoping it's good because I do think that this could make a very visually and stylistically interesting movie. And again, you got a good action director that can make it look really cool and interesting. So we will see. But moving on to the box office itself, actually, Toy Story 5 obviously came out this past weekend. I reviewed it for my Substack. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Felt it was really a return the form for the franchise. I didn't enjoy 4 as much. I've only seen it the one time, but didn't really like it as much as the original trilogy. But this one's pretty good. I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend you checking out my review if you have not. Shameless plug. But obviously, also Disclosure Day came out a couple weeks ago. I reviewed that as well. Not as hot on it as I was on Toy Story 5. I don't think it's one of those things you need to see in the theater, unfortunately. And apparently, audiences agree because Toy Story 5 brought in a huge box office of 312 million globally. I do think this is going to make $1 billion. Toy Story 4 did, and Inside Out 2 made $1 billion, and so did Zootopia 2. So I think this one's well on its way to making a lot of money as well. But unfortunately for Disclosure Day, it had a 62% drop off domestically at the box office, making only 17 million in North America and another 18.7 million internationally. And globally, it's only made 160.4 million dollars. Apparently, it had a $115 million budget. So the rule of thumb, as always, is take a movie's budget and times it by 2.5 to kind of guesstimate for marketing. So that would put it around almost $300 million. Again, you don't come to me for math, but that's just my rough guesstimation. Eh, I don't think it's going to make that money, or if it does, it barely breaks even. I don't think this is a case like Masters of the Universe where it came out at a bad time in a crowded month. I mean I don't think it helped, but I also think word of mouth kind of hurt this movie a little bit where a lot of the reviews I'm seeing have talked about it being kind of mediocre to not really that good. Like a lot of people were underwhelmed by the story, and I include myself as one of those people. So I wonder if it's just one of those things where people are like, it's not getting great reviews. Whatever interest I have has kind of been killed. I'll just wait for it to come out on streaming in a couple months because I can see this coming out by the end of August, beginning of September, out on streaming. I think my guess would be Peacock because I think that's where all the Universal stuff kind of goes. So I see it being on there by the end of August, beginning of September at the latest. But yeah, I don't think I don't think Steven Spielberg is washed up by any means. I do think he needs to pair himself with a better script though, 'cause that's really where this film kind of gets let down is in the script department. It's just not a greatly told story, and not it focuses on the wrong things and kind of is conflicted within itself. So I I'm not surprised, but yeah, again, I don't think this is because in a crowd. It's not Masters of the Universe where it's just you have a bunch of other stuff coming out after it or around it. I think it's just people are like, hey, like again, that doesn't help. I think though, if people are like, hey, it's not getting good reviews. I only have the budget for one movie. You know, my kid wants to see Toy Story. I'm going to see Toy Story. So I guess I wait for Disclosure Day out on streaming. I think that's what contributed to it more than anything, and makes me a little worried for Supergirl because it's coming out right after Toy Story. Although there's not as much of a demographic crossover as I mean, and that's another thing. Now that I think about it, there's not a lot of audience crossover with Disclosure Day and Toy Story, which I think is another thing. Like with Masters of the Universe, I think between Masters of the Universe and Disclosure Day, there's a lot of crossover. So you have a lot of people being like, well, I'll wait for Masters of the Universe. I really want to see Disclosure Day. And then maybe the people who did think that went and saw it. And then everyone else was like, well, it's not that good. I'll just save my money for something else. I think that's where it came from. But it does make me a little worried for Supergirl. Now, granted, that movie also has a smaller budget than Superman. I think it needs around 300 million to break even, something like that. I think with that movie, if it makes 300 to 400, maybe even 500 million, I think DC will be more than happy with that. I don't think they have too high of expectations for it, but again, I think this particular drop off says more about the film than it does the box office. I don't think the crowd box office helps, but I do think it's just word of mouth kind of hurt this movie. But speaking of Supergirl, obviously, Warner Brothers is in the midst of merging with Paramount and Skydance. So one of the things people have been really talking about is the future of the DC films and DC Studios under James Gunn. You know how's this going to affect that? And Supergirl producer Lars P. Winter came out and actually talked about that and said, quote, he came to Trillis Studios already. Ready. That is where we shoot all of our movies that James directs. He came to Atlanta. We showed him everything and are having discussions with him. He's pretty open to what we're doing. We do have a slate, and a lot of it, obviously, Clayface is already coming out. We already have the Lanterns TV show. On those things, the train's already left the station. So we're good. But he's a big fan. He's been great with us. He's giving us kind of what we want. So far, everything is good. And that kind of makes sense. Like, I think a lot of people that were screaming doom and gloom for the DC studios and this DC universe when the merger was announced, I think was kind of hyperbolic and overly dramatic. I think Paramount knows that DC is one of their biggest properties that they have from Warner Brothers. So you're not going to immediately just kill all momentum on that. And I do think they understand what James Gunn kind of understands, and that is you kind of have to build goodwill back up with the audience and build some momentum. Now, I do think what is going to really determine the future of DC Studios is how Supergirl does, Clayface does, and Man of Tomorrow does, and does James Gunn have plans for a Justice League sooner rather than later? I think he cannot. I know he described this as a Star Wars style universe where it's a big universe, but not everything needs to be connected. That's all well and good, but you do have to build towards something. You have to be building towards a Justice League if you want people to get invested. You look at Marvel Studios. Iron Man 1 comes out, teases Avengers. I mean, I'm sure at the time they were like, we would love to do that one day, but if nothing else, this is just a fun little Easter egg that we can bring in. But by Iron Man 2, it was like, no, Avengers is coming in 2 years, so get ready for that. So Thor, Captain America, be hyped for that. And I think that helped kind of build momentum for those films where people may have not been excited for a Thor film or a Captain America film, but because they're like, oh crap, they're building to an Avengers movie, like these are all connected. I want to see what happens next. Like, you need to start doing that a bit more. And it's like, obviously, Supergirl will cameoed in Superman, and then you have Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, cameoing, or at least having some sort of role in the Lantern show, and then Jon Stewart appearing in Man of Tomorrow, the Superman sequel. But at some point, this needs to start building towards something, and you need to have a Justice League. You need to get a Wonder Woman and a Batman out. I think with Batman, I've talked about this situation before. I understand they're probably having to wait until Matt Reeves is done with his thing with the Batman, but I would argue that with Batman, you could probably have him spin out of Justice League. So introduce your new Batman in your Justice League movie and then have his solo film come out after where it's like, okay, we don't have to wait for Justice League or wait on Justice League because we haven't done our Batman film yet. But instead be like, hey, let's have our Batman film come out after that because I don't see a Justice League movie coming out until probably at the earliest, probably 2029, more likely 2030 or 2030. My gosh, 2030. I can't believe I'm saying that. Crazy how time flies, but I feel old. But anyway, 2030 is probably when I would see Justice League coming out at the earliest. And it's like, okay, that's perfect. By then, you could have your Batman movie come out in 2031. That is more than enough time after the Batman Part 2. And if it takes another 5 years for Matt Reeves to take, do the Batman Part 3, then it'll be his turn to wait, which he took a million years to do Part 2, so let him take another 5 or 6 years to do Part 3. And for the record, I love the Batman. It's my favorite Batman movie, so I'm not dunking on Matt Reeves. I'm just saying it's ridiculous how long that thing took. Like, it sounded like he had a story for part two already in mind, and I wonder. Now, part of it I do think is James Gunn tried to convince him to roll his stuff into the DCU, but he didn't want to do it, and so that kind of caused them to have to figure out, okay, well, here's the characters we want to use, here's the characters you can use, so we don't have any crossover and have, two Batman movies with him both fighting the same villain in within the span of 2 or 3 years. But I digress. But overall, I do think if Supergirl breaks even, I think it's safe there. Because again, I don't think they have a lot high expectations for that movie. Clayface, it's only a $40 million budget. I don't see the marketing costing too much, especially because it's a horror movie coming out in August, or not August, in October, excuse me. So that kind of helps sell itself a little bit. So that one won't take much to break even. Like, it could probably break even to make a profit within the first weekend if it does well. But Man of Tomorrow, I do think that needs to really kind of do gangbusters. Like, probably do 700 to $900 million. Like, I don't think they're wanting it. No Superman movie has broken $1 billion, so I don't think they have expectations quite that high. But I do think they're like, hey, this really needs to hit, especially if like you have Avengers crossing the $1 billion mark in December. I don't think it will, but there's a chance it could. And if it does, I think they'll really be like, hey, we really need to start making a profit. And I think Paramount will want to start to see some good results. And I think what would help with that is if James Gunn just came out this year or next year at one of the cons that he goes to, whether it's CinemaCon, San Diego Comic Con, or New York Comic Con, just one of those, and comes out with a slate, kind of like Marvel, and being like, all right, Wonder Woman coming in, 2028, then Batman coming in 2029, and then Justice League comes out 2030. Here's our slate. Here's the cast. Boom. Here you go. Enjoy. I think that would help build momentum a long way if people knew where this was going or if this was actually building to a Justice League. And again, I just don't think you can wait another 5 to 10 years before you do that. So I think that's really what needs to happen to really secure DC Films' future. But I do believe that what's being said here is true. I do think they're safe for now. I think it would be a foolish business move. Not that giant corporations aren't above doing that, but I think it would be a foolish business move to just immediately come and be like, and we're starting over again. Like, I think that would kill any momentum that you had for a new universe. I think you need to give this one time to kind of build itself out and to win back audience trust. And it so far, I mean, again, I loved James Gunn's Superman. Really, really enjoyed that. I'm hopeful for Supergirl. I'm hopeful for Lanterns. Skeptical on Clayface, but obviously I will go see it because it's a comic book movie and I want to review it for my Substack. But they really need Clayface should have been something that came out after you've had a Justice League movie and you're rolling in momentum and in profits. I don't think to have it be like the third movie in your universe was a smart move, but we'll see in October when it comes out. But moving on from DC to Marvel, Elektra has been confirmed for Daredevil season Born Again season 3. She was spotted on set photos. It's the actress from Netflix, Elodie Young, returning as that character. I loved that version of the character. It was very much the Frank Miller Elektra that we've got in the comics. I know some people didn't like that version, but that's the version that I know. And I mean, she hasn't changed too much since then in the comics. She's maybe like a little less crazy, but not by much. She's still a crazy lethal assassin lady that Matt can't seem to resist when push comes to shove. But for me, I'm excited about this because I really do think it just solidifies for me that Daredevil Matt Murdock is going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. They are really advertising the Hand being in that movie, and Spider-Man's fighting ninjas. And it really makes... And Elektra obviously is very much connected to the Hand. The Defenders are back. We know in the Defenders Netflix show, they fight the Hand together, and Elektra is obviously leading the Hand at that time. So I wonder if maybe they're going to hint that the Hand has a new leader and it's Elektra and she's back. And that's what makes Matt go, oh, I have to get out of jail because I need to go fight them and stop whatever she's doing. And maybe he finds that out in Spider-Man Brand New Day, where we see in the trailer Spider-Man fighting the Hand in a prison. We know Matt Murdock's in prison right now. I think it lines up too perfectly for him to like fight him and then be like, Elektra sends her regards or whatever, or like our leader has told us not to harm you, Matt Murdock. She will be visiting you soon, and having him go, she? And Spider-Man go, what is he talking about? And he's like, don't worry about it, kid. Just deal with your own issues or whatever, or something like that. Or like, I'll take care of it. And that be the cameo, and then lead us into Daredevil season 3. So I wonder if the Hand's also going to be a major role in season 3 as well. And maybe it's even something where we know Kingpin's coming back for that. There is a comic run where Kingpin takes over the Hand for a while. So I wonder if it's something where you have Elektra almost being ousted by the Kingpin and maybe the Kingpin's trying to use their magic to bring back his wife. Like there's so many possibilities, but it's just it gets me excited that things are being interwoven again and built upon. Where it's like Daredevil is building into Spider-Man Brand New Day, which might then build back out into Daredevil season 3. Like I'm love it. I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. Bring it on. But the last piece of news is also Marvel related. Obviously, there have been, if you've been on the internet for a good amount of time, there have been Avengers Doomsday leaks. Some set photos have been leaked. Some footage or stills of footage has been leaked. It didn't look great. It's been since taken down, which adds validity to the idea that this was probably real and not like AI or Photoshop or anything like that. We got to look at Doom. I didn't think he looked that great, but I did hear the point brought up that these were probably unfinished effects shots, and so it could be something where they still have to enhance because Nightcrawler was also in one of them and he looked kind of off, and I wonder again if it's one of those things where they're going to enhance some of the visuals with CG and they just hadn't gotten to that yet before they leaked. Um, so I usually don't like to talk about leaks just because of the fact that it's like one, you can never tell if they're real or not, and then two, usually the reason that they're being taken down is because that's not what Marvel wanted us to see. That all the time we see people complaining about set photos of certain costumes and stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, it's not. It's going to be shot and lit different in the movie than what you're seeing from some rando's iPhone. So I don't like to judge anything based on leaks. But I do wonder, because this isn't the first time, obviously, like something Avengers related is leaked. Biggest one that I can remember is the first teaser for Age of Ultron. The full teaser getting leaked on the internet to where you could find it and watch it in full. And it actually forced Marvel to have to just release an actual trailer. Just the actual HD trailer for it. I wonder if something similar is going to happen here, where because it's obvious at this point they're probably waiting until San Diego Comic Con at the end of next month to release their first big teaser for it. And probably that way also they can throw it then in front of Spider-Man because they know they're going to get a lot of eyes on that movie. Obviously, I already got my tickets, but I wonder if maybe this is going to kind of force them to release a teaser trailer early and then be like, and next month, like maybe we get like a 30-second little spot and then and then next month, wait for San Diego for the full thing. Um, Either that or maybe at the most, maybe they release like a high resolution photo of Doctor Doom and be like, no, this is not what Doom's going to look like. This is what Doom is going to look like. Maybe something to satiate fans, or they stay silent, which is also a possibility, and they just stand firm because they also have been kind of stubborn about this, where they're almost like they refuse to show anything from the movie. Like, no, no. You thought the Russos were teasing a trailer? Nope, it's just a Doctor Doom themed coffee. We'll show it to you when we're good and ready. So that there's a good possibility that they just dig in and say, nope, this is going to be something you have to wait for the end of next month in order to get. Because obviously right now they're doing research for Doomsday, and then Secret Wars starts filming in August. So I think we're going to get much more polished and much more action oriented teaser than maybe what we got at CinemaCon, because that might have been just whatever footage they had, whatever thing they had finished and ready to go at the time. So we might get a lot more Doom and a lot more action in the teaser that we get next month. But we'll see. I just wanted to address the leaks because I had seen them floating around social media and just wanted to be like, all right, let me put in my 2 cents. Plus, I get a reason to tag Avengers Doomsday in my podcast. Shameless plug, but that's all the news that we had for this week. And now we move on to the paid subscriber questions. And again, if you want to submit your own question for me to read on the show, all you got to do is upgrade your Substack membership to the paid tier, and then I will answer any question that you submit, and you'll get to submit any movies that you want me to review. But with that, let's get into it. So the first one we have is this. We live in an era where massive directors like Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, and Denis Villeneuve are pushing the boundaries of what movies can look and sound like in a theater. But at the same time, a huge portion of the audience is watching these exact same cinematic masterpieces for the first time at home on their couches or worse on an iPad while folding laundry. As a critic, do you think a movie can truly be a masterpiece if its greatness depends entirely on a $50 million theater sound system and an IMAX screen? Or should a truly perfect film have the exact same emotional and storytelling impact whether you're watching it in a theater or on an iPhone screen during a lunch break? Where do you draw the line? Keep it loud in the basement. Well, it is always loud in the basement or in my upstairs as I'm actually recording this, but it's always loud because of my kids. Rarely is there a peaceful time. Although thankfully I record these when they're being watched by their grandparents, so I do get some peace and quiet there. But it's usually pretty loud. But as far as your question, that's a great question. I really like that thought because there is a lot of jokes. I always see the memes of watching, you know, Oppenheimer on my iPhone as Nolan intended or whatever. And obviously, especially in the case of Christopher Nolan, he talks a lot about how he shoots things for the theatrical experience, that everything is shot and molded around being in the biggest screen possible to enjoy it. So for me, I think on a storytelling and character level, I think a film could be a masterpiece in that respect, no matter what device you're watching it on. If it's got good storytelling, if it's got good characters that resonate with you, then it doesn't matter. It could still be a masterpiece whether it's on an iPhone, iPad, or in the theater. Now, if you're wanting to get a good cinematic experience, obviously the best bet is going to be the cinema. So if you're like, oh man, I want to watch, you know, this movie because it has the best visuals and the best sound. I want to hear the score booming in my ears. Like, well, then you're going to have to go to the theater for that experience. So I mean, the technology's gotten good to where you can get some really good Blu-ray transfers when movies come out, but still, obviously, there's a big difference between watching it on your 50-inch screen TV in your living room versus an IMAX theater. Like, for me, and this is not a brag, this is just kind of explaining my own experience, but I have a 120-inch projector screen with a sound bar and speaker underneath it connected to it. It's like, and I watched Oppenheimer in IMAX, and then I watched Oppenheimer on that, and I could tell you that it is a very big difference where it's just IMAX, when the bomb goes off in that movie, the IMAX theater literally shook. Like, I could feel my chair rattling. You could hear chairs rattling in the theater. You're not going to get that same impact, on the couch, even with the sound bar. Like, unless you have a $50 million sound system, you're not going to get it. So it's just a matter of what you want to get out of it. Like, if you're wanting to get, just the story and characters, I think a film can be a masterpiece whether you watch it on an iPhone or in the theater. But if you want to get the full experience, the theater is the best way you're going to get that. So that would be my answer. Like, it, the impact. Because that's always what it is for me. It's like, if a film is not even the best shot or has the best musical score or whatever, but the characters and stories still resonate to me, then I can still feel comfortable almost calling that a masterpiece. But if it's something where you're wanting to have the full package, theater's your best bet. But thank you for that question. That was really good. And the next one is a two-parter. So the first part is, what franchise do you wish would continue onward if the same quality could be sustained? This was a tough one because there's a lot that I could think of, but the one I landed on for me was the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies. I love those movies. I think it's Guy Ritchie at his best. He hasn't really done many movies like that in a while. But I mean, every time I go back to those movies, it's just so good, so enjoyable, and I I would love to see them do another one that it's been talked about for years. But I think at this point, I would love to see it happen, but I don't know if it can. If just for one, I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. is able to do some of the physical stunts that he does in that movie. Because I mean, he's what, like the last one came out in 2011. He's almost, by the time he would be done with like Doomsday and Secret Wars, he'd be almost 20 years older. And I mean, he got in good shape for Doom, so it's like obviously he could still get in good shape for it, but I mean, I don't know how much he's going to be physically doing in the action scenes when it comes to those movies. And I don't know if people would care about it at this point. It would be almost 20 years since they made the last one if they could by the time they get it written and produced. So, and Guy Ritchie is kind of fallen off a little bit as a director. His last few films haven't been that great. So I just don't know, but I would love if they could guarantee the same quality of directing and writing and everything as the first two. I would love to see another one because those are so much fun. And then the second part of this question is which franchise should have ended with the first entry? My answer for this might be controversial. Some of you may get enraged, unsubscribe, and if you have my number, text me and demand further answers. But I will say Deadpool. I I've never been the biggest Deadpool fan to begin with, but for me, I really felt after the first Deadpool movie, it was kind of diminishing returns. I think by Deadpool and Wolverine, I didn't really enjoy that movie. It was kind of a letdown for me, but I really think Ryan Reynolds almost became like a meme of his own character, and it's just again, it was just diminishing returns for me. Like I think the first movie, great movie, really well done. It does a good job of parodying. I don't know how to say, making fun of what superhero movies were doing at the time, and kind of exposing some of the cliches and stuff like that, while also standing on its own and being a fun little revenge R-rated action thriller. But after a while, the shtick has kind of gotten old. Like I didn't mind the second Deadpool. I own it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't as good as the first one. And then again, the third one was just kind of eh. So if I never see Ryan Reynolds Deadpool again, I'm okay with that. I think he'll pop up in Secret Wars, and I mean I won't mind if he has just like a brief cameo where he's like, I get to say the film's one F word, ha ha ha, and then Thor cries and pieces, and then he pieces out. I'd be fine with that. But yeah, that's my answer to that question. I think the first movie was good, and then it just kind of I think it's like any comedy series. Like after a while, it's kind of you almost start to reference your own franchise rather than making fun of something else and having more original jokes. And yeah, so it's like unless maybe that he can get like a better writer or something, I'd be fine if we never got another Deadpool movie with him. But thank you so much for those questions. And again, if you want to submit your own, just upgrade your subscription to the paid tier, and you'll be able to submit any questions you want, and I will answer them the best that I can. But before we get out of here, I'll tell you what I'm watching. So I finished The Last of Us season 1 with my wife. The ending blew her away, which it was enjoyable to experience that with her, and she definitely has a lot of mixed emotions on it, but ultimately lands on the side of Joel, I think, even though it's very much of choose the lesser of two evils kind of thing. It was really fun to watch that with her. I don't know if I'll show her the second season. I didn't really like it. I didn't even finish it. I'm not the biggest fan of the second game. I think the writing declined in quality between the first game and the second game, and this I think it's the same way with the show. Um, but if she wants to watch it, then I'll probably give it another go. But at this time, I have no plans to do so. And then obviously, House of Dragon season 3 just started. I watched the first episode. Really good stuff. A lot of action. I think it could have been the title of this episode could have been called "How to Train Your Dragon," because it was enjoyable watching The one Targaryen girl, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, tried to tame a dragon. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Um, Pretty good side stuff, but really, really good way to start a season. Very starts starts things off very strongly, and I'm very interested to see where it goes. I do hope they didn't blow the budget on this battle, so we only get like one more at the end of the season. I mean, as long as we don't get Damien just wandering around in a haunted house for a season again, I'll be happy. At least he doesn't seem to be doing that. That he was in his own Scooby Doo episode. It was like, what are we doing here? Um, but that was good. And that's really all. Obviously, I watched Toy Story 5, so you can check out the review of that up on the Substack. That's live and out now. So I really enjoyed it. But go on to my Substack, Louder in the Basement, for the full review. And then this weekend I will be seeing Supergirl, so obviously next week I will have a review for that out, spoiler-free review for everyone next Wednesday, and then the following Monday after that I will be doing a spoiler article for Supergirl where I go into all the nitty-gritty details on what I thought they did in that movie. I'm hoping it's good. I've been trying to ignore the reviews just because I want to make sure that I have my own thoughts and I'm not being influenced by what other people say for good or bad. But that's all I had for you this week. Thank you as always again for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye.